Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Today, we're very lucky and happy to have Violet Sudol, MPH, who's a technology educator and founder of Helper Bears, an organization dedicated to technology education. And she's going to talk about all kinds of online scams and so forth. We were just talking about it before we opened the room. And please, if you have any questions, put them into the chat. And good morning. And I'm sure Violet will answer them when she gets to them. Okay, with that, I'm going to hand it over to Violet.
Hi, everyone. I'm Violet Sudol. I'm here in New York City, and I'm going to talk to you on how to stay safe online today. So we have a full presentation, and I'm going to share my screen, and then I'll try to answer questions in as I can, or um, if someone can also tell me, like if there's a lot of questions or something in the chat, you can interrupt me and let me know as well if I don't catch them right away. But for the most part, I will try
Yeah,
to pay.
I can keep an eye on that.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to just share my screen. 1 minute. Oops, 1 second. Now, 1 minute. I apologize. Okay, can everyone see my full screen?
Yes, looking good.
Okay, thank you. So one of the things, and also I would also like this to be an interactive session. So whoever can participate, if I ask any questions, I would also appreciate if everyone, can give me examples or maybe things that they've experienced or things they've seen. So one of the things we're gonna talk about many things, but it's very important to keep our information private. And that means don't talk to people you don't know, don't give them information you don't know. I mean, even things like yesterday, I was picking up food and I happened to talk to a few people, these two men that were standing online with me as we were waiting. And I kind of just, as in talking conversation, I've kind of mentioned where I live. Now, sometimes I don't know if we're all guilty of doing that, but we don't know these individuals, so we shouldn't give them information. It was just, oh, I live on this street. Oh, I live on this street and this building. But those things are not safe. And then later on, as I left, I thought to myself, oh, why did I just do this? Why did I just tell these two strange men who are nice, but you never know, this information about me? So, although this is not necessarily a presentation about meeting people in person, but this also has to deal with what information we share with people we don't know. So we should all have a list or people in mind who we only trust with passwords, with their bank accounts, with our computers, with our devices, just to keep it to a very minimal circle of people who we trust, especially when it comes online. Um, and especially if online, because oftentimes we don't know who the person is behind the screen. They could even pretend to be a loved one of ours who we haven't seen in a long time. So one of the first things I'm going to talk to you about is credit cards versus debit cards. Now, does anyone here actively use a debit card for everyday purchases? Not sure if anyone is responding or in the chat room. Well, one of the things that I will mention and the benefits of why one should use a credit card versus a debit card is because a debit card is direct access to your actual funds. So I personally wouldn't recommend using your debit card even at the grocery store, even at a Morton Williams, or at any even large chain grocery store or even a gas station. I just would never use my debit card to make a purchase, and especially online, because those numbers can be leaked onto the dark web. And one of the reasons why credit cards are safer is because it's not our actual funds that are getting withdrawn when someone does take money out of our accounts. The risks are much lower, and credit cards have a lot of protection. So they will automatically refund you the money. With debit cards, yes, you'll still get the money back, but it's again, it's your own money, so you can feel that financial burden a lot a lot more than you would with credit cards, because that money in your checking account might be there to pay bills. So if somebody withdraws, like I know a friend who used her debit card at a gas station, and then after that gas station the next day, her debit card was used at an Apple store to purchase $3,000 worth of Apple products. And then, she tried to pay something else with that debit card, and now $3,000 is gone. So it just takes a little bit longer, and it's your own money, so it's a lot scarier than not actually using the credit card. And also the benefits of using a credit card is you're building credit, you're getting your rewards. A lot of credit cards have cash back rewards or point systems. Debit cards don't offer any of that. Debit cards are just there to get your cash money. The disputes are much easier with credit cards. You call them, let's say you go to a store or you pay for a service that later you didn't receive. Um, Debit cards may take longer to get the money back. And again, it's your own money that you lost. Credit cards, it's a credit that will be on your account. So the disputes are going to be, much easier. And then there's also purchase protection. When I was on vacation one year, our car was broken into. And I didn't pay for any travel insurance because I didn't think that I was going to be robbed in Europe. And the credit card that I had actually had fraud protection and travel protection, who was able to pay for the car, although it wasn't my fault that the car was broken into. The car rental company still held me liable and made me pay for the damages, but my credit card company was able to refund me and help me because they have, in the background, we don't know some of the things that they offer, so it's also important to see and check what credit cards offer. I'm just checking here the chat if there's anything.
Yeah, well, I can testify for myself. My credit card was just charged fraudulently. I was on vacation in Canada, not a place I expected it. I live in the Bronx and I've never had anything happen. Um, and yeah, it was a couple $1,000s, and thankfully it was a credit card and not a debit card.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Credit cards, and I mean, if it's even happened to me where I got a notification on my credit card, and it was like a McDonald's charge in like, Arkansas or Texas, and my credit card said, "Hey, you're not in Texas." They kind of see and they blocked it right away. But if that was your debit card, now it's a little bit scarier because that's actually, if you have bills scheduled to pay, so you can see how that affects it. And credit card companies are very good in helping us out. So another thing, so there's phishing scams. Has anyone ever heard of the word phishing scams online, or has anyone ever heard that before? Not sure if people have the ability to communicate, but I'll
Yeah, I've actually, people can unmute themselves if they want to talk, and certainly can put something into the chat as well.
okay, thank you. So phishing scams is basically fake communication trying to get anything, any information out of you in order to build a case or a profile, in order to be able to take your information and use it in a negative way. So a lot of them are emails, fake websites, text messages, phone calls, even people in person. We really can't trust anyone that we don't know is legitimate. And phishing scams, even if you click on something, whether it's a text message or an email, um, or someone sends you mail to go onto a certain website, they're trying to get any information out of you because they know that once they get a little bit information, they can keep contacting you because now you've trusted them somewhat. And many of the common phishing scams are the suspicious emails and the fake websites, and especially the text messages. I think there was just something on the news. I don't have the actual numbers, but there's like millions and billions of text message scams that go out. And now the federal government looks like is trying to hold the phone companies responsible in securing Americans to be able not to be able to become victims of these scams. So there is some sort of law that came out. I just saw this on the news yesterday. And only, I guess, half of these phone companies have started to implement these changes, but a lot of them are not held responsible yet. so that the federal government is going to be holding these companies liable to make us feel safe and not fall victim. A lot of another one that's very popular is the tech support scams. I don't know if anyone's ever had it, but I personally know individuals that get a phone call. I've even received a phone call saying that, my Samsung or, whichever laptop I have is not, has a virus on it, and they identified this through Microsoft and they're calling me to help. Um, no company's reaching out to you if there's something wrong with your computer. They don't have the bandwidth, they don't have the manpower, they don't have the resources to know whose computer is working or not. That's just all up to the individual. So they would never contact us to let us know that there's something wrong. It's the same thing as having your refrigerator break or your washing machine or your car. No one's going to call you and tell you that there's something wrong with your device or your machine. That's up to you to figure out that it's malfunctioning and take it there. So whenever someone calls you or anything about your computer or your virus software being out of date, they're not going to come after you. Even a virus software. I mean, those subscriptions are so little, and everyone almost, if you don't have a Mac computer, a lot of people have antivirus software on. Those companies will never call you. They may send you an email if that, and there's a lot of fake emails, and we'll review that. But I would also, and the way that scams work is that once you acknowledge that there's something wrong with your computer, they ask you to log into the computer, and that's when they get access to all your information, which can be, your history of anything you've done, your emails, your passwords. Once they have your email password, they can basically reset any website. So your bank information, any kind of shopping you did. A lot of these online stores save your credit card information. Again, credit and not debit. So this is why it's very important to make sure that you're storing only your credit cards on there, because sometimes, unfortunately, even big companies are liable to scams and fraud, and they will be affected, and your credit card information may get stolen, which is okay. And I want everyone to know and not expect it to happen to you, but just say that, yeah, this will probably most likely happen to me at one time or more. Like we just gave two examples. It happened to me also when I was robbed in Europe. My wallet was stolen, so all my credit cards were taken. So they have all my information. So these things will probably happen to a lot of us, but it's important not to give them access. So anything that happens to you with tech support, no one is calling you to help you. You have to call people to help you. So never give access to anyone to access your computer, because then they have, like I'll say again, access to your emails and to the websites you use, your credit card information, and the scarier thing, your banks. Any questions on that until I move on to the next thing? Please let me know. Another form of fraud is identity theft. Identity theft is a very scary one because those people can open up a line of credit under your name, can purchase a lot of things under your name, can open up credit cards, line of credit, purchase things. And oftentimes this happens when somehow your social security number is leaked. That's another thing to keep very private. One thing I always recommend, I don't know if anyone on here remembers, but years ago, when we went to the doctor's office, and even now I see it. I used to work in hospitals, by the way, so that's my original background with technology related items at hospitals. Um, but the forms that we would fill out used to, and some still do, ask for your social security number. The doctor doesn't need to know your social security number. They're not looking into your background or your financial information. Anytime you go anywhere other than buying a car, buying a house, opening up a line of credit, you should never put your social security unless it's like a requirement for them to do some sort of background on you. Like if you're applying for any sort of financial aid from the government, any health insurance things, your driver's license. So those things need your social security because those are government entities requesting it. But as far as a doctor's office, you don't need that. Other than perhaps charity care, which I don't even know needs that, because then you would apply for health insurance through the hospital. So be very careful who you give your social security number to, because that's where identity theft can happen. And then that is very, very difficult and very stressful to keep control because they can just keep opening lines of credit under your name. And online shopping scams is another one. Online shopping scams will ask you, you have to be careful where you shop online and make sure that you're shopping at reliable companies. You want to make sure that these organizations, you know them, that these are Macy's, Nordstrom, that these are stores that you've actually see and know, and that these are not some sort of fake websites. Even if the deal sounds too good to be true, I would be very weary and I would not trust any kind of information like that. Oops, 1 second. I just went back. Oh, okay. Um, oftentimes, I mean, this happened to my cousin where they saw a power washer online, and the Amazons, the Home Depots, they had it listed for like $200, this power washer. But this one website who also was selling the same kind of products, or so seemed, had this power washer for like $50 because it was on sale. A power washer, we all know what type of product it is and we know what it's worth. From $200 or $250 to $50, that seems too good to be true. It's an actual big piece of equipment. It's not it's not a picture frame where that it's cheap. This is an actual product. So, and they thought it was a good deal and they clicked the website, but it was an unreliable website. It wasn't a big name brand, but they were selling all these items that Home Depot sells. And unfortunately, it was a fake website. And we'll talk about fake websites later. But the power washer never came to the house. When they reached out to the company never replied. It was an actual fake company because it was too good to be true. So always shop for reputable websites. And if it's too good to be true, it's most likely too good to be true. So we have to be very careful as to where we spend our money and make sure that, is it worth saving a few dollars for something that's not reliable? Any questions before we move on? Charity scams. Not sure if anyone's heard of charity scams or are familiar with charity scams, especially older individuals. Oftentimes I donate to certain charities. Oftentimes they're religious organizations that I'm aware of, so I know who they are, or healthcare systems. But sometimes these can pretend to be an organization or a nonprofit. But if we don't know who they are, they can even trick us with similar information or misleading information um, that is similar to what we're used to. So if we're used to donating to churches or cancer research, you have to make sure that you know these organizations. You can't just trust it because they called you. I know sometimes we may send money and then we forget which organizations we sent money to because let's say we're always sending to cancer research or a children's fund or a religious fund. But if these organizations don't know you and you don't know them, even if you have a question in your mind, like who is this or do I know them, I would automatically stay away from it. Charity scams are a very big one. They can either get information from other listings. A lot of organizations will sell information, although laws have been changing against that. But charity scams, so they can get your information from those places sometimes, and that money won't go to charity. That money, and I'll also just in general with charity, I would always look into the financials of any charity because that is public information. There are websites that give you Guide Star is one of them. Every single nonprofit has to publicly report all their money. So I would also look into these charities and see where the money is, how much the employees get paid. Because you also want to make sure that those charities you're given to are also legitimate. So always remember that that is a possibility. So another really big one, probably bigger than the charity scams or the romance scams. I think we've seen some on TV. There's some shows. I don't know if during the pandemic any of you watched the 90 Day Fiance. But there was one man who fell in love with a very beautiful woman in Russia, and she would never have time to see him. She would never have time to video him. They would only send messages to each other. Um, and actually, oftentimes, and long story short, from the show, I don't know if she was real. He came once and he showed her, but I think they did meet. But at the beginning, he wasn't sure if she was a real person. Unfortunately, romance scams happen all the time. I personally know an acquaintance of mine whose mother fell for a romance scam through Facebook. Um, she was older and lonely, and her husband passed away. And someone on Facebook reached out to her and just started chatting away. And he was in the military, the United States military, but he was stuck in another country. This man even had her speak to his mother and had speak to his sister. He had a whole crew of people who pretended to be family members of him, said she believes him. And she sent him over $200,000. And this is someone I know who lives in New Jersey. She sent all her life savings to this man. Once she realized that she was possibly a victim of a fraud, she tried to cut ties with him. And that's when all his family and friends started reaching out to her to then play on her emotions and to get back into a relationship with this individual who she's never met. Um, she would speak to him on the phone. I can't verify if they did video or not, they could have. But there's gangs set up in other countries, and these gangs, this is what they do. So just how we have gangs in the United States, there's gangs all over the world whose only purpose is to create fake romance scams. A lot of them are whether it's forced or not, these gangs work in organizations and they have 5, 10, 15 people, so that it's very believable that this person is real, that this person has a brother, a sister, a child, a friend, that they're an actual person. They may even have Facebook with fake pictures that this is a real person. And they ask for money, but they don't ask you for, $60,000 right off the bat. It's, oh, can I have, $1,000 or $2,000? I can't pay my electricity bill, or I'm having financial problems. So you send a little bit, and they actually make you fall in love with them. So that was the most hurtful thing for my acquaintance's mother, because not only did she send $200,000 of her entire family's savings, it was a huge emotional burden of embarrassment, hurt, shame. And the way I would say that she was helped or found out. She started borrowing money from friends and family. And that's when her children were like, Mom, what are you doing? And went into her cell phone and found out that she was talking to this man and sending him all this money. Because she, at that point, was then so embarrassed that she did all this and so hurt and so ashamed that she was just borrowing money from people in order to function. So they had to do a reverse mortgage on the house because of this romance scam. Um, Oftentimes they will reach out and they will have real pictures, or again, like I said, these are gangs. So these are planned businesses to steal money from people. So if you do ever meet anyone online, and I think meeting online is a wonderful thing, it gives us an opportunity to meet individuals we wouldn't in person, but you have to either meet them in person or you have to do a video call. And still never send money is the most important thing. If somebody loves you, they're not asking you for money unless you've known them for a long time. But they also say you want to make someone your enemy, you lend them your money. Or if you want to lose a friend or something, you lend them your money, because if you lend someone your money, take it as maybe you'll never get it back. So always be careful on who you make friends with online. And the big red flags are they're asking you for money. Someone who doesn't know you, someone that you just met randomly on the internet is asking you for money is a big, big red flag. They should be looking for a natural occurring relationship and not for money. And most importantly, that you have to meet in person. You can't just trust the internet. Any questions on this part?
So Violet, isn't it true that some of these people, these gangs, also look for online obits, and they can tell when someone becomes a widow or widower and that they're vulnerable?
It is, and actually, it's not even gangs. There's a whole nother thing that there involves human trafficking. There was something on like 60 Minutes where this guy in Asia was promised a tech job, and he went to this tech job, and these gangs basically kidnap you. They take your passport away. And they lock you in a building like a little city, and they make people do this until they pay their debt back. And this is very popular in Asia, but that is correct. So they look for widowers, they look for anyone that has a lot of public pictures. And then I'll talk about what to post on Facebook and social media, but I always advise make sure your Facebooks are private, your Instagram is private. Strangers, I mean, there's also people, with mental health issues. There's people you don't want them lurking into your lives. You don't know who they are. But yes, they will look at obituaries. A lot of obituaries have a lot of private information. They'll tell you how many children are left, how many grandkids are left. They'll give you the town. They'll say, so and so, so and so has children from this town and this town. Obituaries give a lot of information. We have to stay very, very careful as to share as little information as possible. Any questions before we move on? So there's also lottery and sweepstakes scams. I actually used to know a priest who did a lot of sweepstakes, not scams, but he would apply for a lot of sweepstakes, and everyone used to tell him, "Don't send your money because it's probably a scam." Well, he never got rich off of it, but I would also make sure that anything you do with lottery, it's actually from the little stores where you can see it on purpose, in person, not something that you get online. If it's too good to be true, and again, I have another example of a childhood friend of mine years ago. The family, I guess, received some sort of information that they won a lottery in Spain. Now, these are a Polish family who lives in America who won a lottery in Spain. Why would any American really win a lottery in Spain is beyond me, but it was a really, really believable deal. They spoke with these individuals, they received paperwork in the mail. Everything seemed very, very official. They met with the individuals on the phone. Back then, there really wasn't any Zoom yet. So they spoke with these individuals, in depth on the phone. The paperwork they received at their house with this sweepstakes was very believable. But they had to send them like $10,000 in order to receive the money, which is a huge red flag there. And then they also had to pay for their own hotel and airfare to Spain in order to get this big check. Now, if you're winning a lottery, if you're winning any kind of prize money, it shouldn't cost you money to, it's one thing if you fill out an application and there's an application fee, but regardless, there shouldn't really be a lot of application fees for any kind of lotteries. But if you win any sort of lottery, there should be no money to send them. My friend's family lost over $30,000 to this fake scam. When they showed up in Spain, there was no one there. It was very traumatic for the family. And one of the reasons why I'm teaching you all this is because these scams not only hurt the person, but they hurt the family. Like the other person I told you from New Jersey who took all her family's savings at $200,000 to give it to some guy in 2 or 3 years. It doesn't just hurt the person that's involved, it involves the entire family, becomes a family affair that becomes very emotional and hard for people. So that's one of the things, because these things are often heavy. When you're spending $30,000, $200,000, it takes a very big emotional toll on you. So you always have to keep that in mind. Is it worth it? And not even is it worth it because you're not getting out of it, but am I getting tricked? Am I getting scammed? We really have to think of ourselves, our families, other people, our friends. What's going to happen if we do this? Is it worth it? Unfortunately, my friend's family like went to Spain, did all this with this sweepstake, and nothing was there. Nothing in this world is free, and if it's too good to be true, it definitely is. Investment scams. Now, this is where it becomes interesting because I've talked to Bank of America, I've spoken to Chase and other big banks. Investment scams are very real and people lose a lot of money. I'll give you an example with Bank of America. They do investments for people, and they have, an investment team, and they have their clients who they will email constantly back and forth. And the email will say, John at Bank of America. And if you've been working with John for 10 years, you're trusting John, and John will email you things things that look like good opportunities of investment and so forth. Well, a lot of scammers, but this is really high level scammers, were able to break into a system. It's not Bank of America, but it was a financial institution that it was connected with Bank of America. They were able to copy that email address. So imagine you've been investing money with John for your whole life. And now John sends you an email that there's this great investment opportunity and you're going to make $80,000 in 2 months. So you're like, wow, this is great. But again, John never called you on the phone. He only emailed you. So that's your big red flag. If it's someone that you've been dealing with for years, anything with money, you should speak to the person that you know on the phone. But he saw the email was from John, from this institution, and the emails were identical to John's emails. So this person sent them $80,000 to make $80,000, but that never went to John. That was a fake email impersonating to be John. And that's the scary part. Whenever you're sending money somewhere, you should speak to the person over the phone, especially when it comes to life savings, investments. It's one thing if you're sending someone $20 for a pair of shoes somewhere on some website, but still, I wouldn't recommend doing that. But when you're sending and investing money, this even happens in companies, smaller companies. A friend of mine has a small company, and one of their vendors calls him and he says, hey, why are you sending me this email for $10,000? I paid you this. And they said, we didn't email it. We know you paid. Someone was able to hack into their email address and pretend to be the company who's sending a fake invoice to a company. Whenever it comes to sending money, make sure you speak to the person over the phone. Make sure you know that it's the right bank. Make sure you have the phone number saved. Even, I wouldn't, if you don't know a phone number, even Google it. I would always have a little phone book with these very important phone numbers to your bank, or always go in person to your local banking institution. Do not ever send someone a lot of money, even though the email looks real. It may not be real. And these are real financial institutions that people have been working for years. And then the bank will say, sorry, but we didn't send that. And that's your fault for not doing your due diligence and calling that individual. Do not trust emails ever, even from family members. From if they're asking for money, anything, always speak to the person and that you're speaking to them. Any questions on that?
Well, would you say it's a good idea always to pause? Like they send you the email, they may say it's an emergency, but that you really should step away, think about it. As you say, contact the bank or contact the person if you know them and you're not sure if it's them. And just give yourself some time and some space there.
It is, especially with phone calls. If someone, I mean, there's software out there that could pretend to be someone else. I mean, and they're not even high level softwares. Everyone here on this Zoom, including myself, we can download the Spoof app. It's called Spoof. And I can pretend to be any one of you if I had your phone number. I can call from any organization, from any church, from anything, and that phone number will come like it's that church. And this is not even like dark web stuff. This is just a regular application that all of us can download and use for many reasons. I hope none of us are doing fraud, so we wouldn't use it for that reason. Um, but my point is that these applications, if someone is calling you for money, I would again say, okay, let me think about this, hang up, think about it, and then you call them. They're not calling you because it could be a fake person. It could be a fake grandchild that's in trouble. Always don't let that phone number call you. Think about it, and then you call them or you meet that person that you know in person about it. Never ever send anything like that over the phone if someone calls you. Oops. Another thing with scamming is gift card scams. So another thing could be your family member. Someone can call you, your family member, so not your real family, but the scammers can call you and ask you to buy gift cards on their behalf because their credit card's not working. But again, they're calling you. So I would always say, okay, let me think about this, and then you call them or you meet with them in person. Gift card scams. Someone I know was gifted a gift card for their birthday, and when they went to Nordstrom, that gift card was already used, meaning that someone got the number somehow and was able to use that. And oftentimes when the scammers, they'll trick you into purchasing a gift card and then get you to give the card numbers and pins, or they'll try to pay you in gift cards, but they'll get the back numbers and they'll use that gift card before you can even access it. So that Nordstrom gift card I just told you about, that those numbers in the back, or when you have to scratch a little pin, that somehow was given already to someone to use, and that gift card was used before that individual was able um to use it. So never accept any gift cards from strangers for payments. Never ask anyone to purchase gift cards, even pretending to be somebody else. Gift cards, just stay away from them and don't ever purchase them, even if because it can be a scam. I actually, number 10 here, free item scam. I actually became a victim of a scam, and I should have known better because I teach this, I know this. I received an email from Dick's Sporting Goods. Now, my first sign should have been, I've never shopped at Dick's Sporting Goods. But the email said, oh, get a free Yeti cooler. Yeti is a very, I'm not sure if anyone knows, but Yeti is a very good brand and their products are at a premium. So a big cooler for the summer is probably like $200 or $300. So I was like, wow, if I just fill out this little information at Dick's, I could be entered in the contest to get a free cooler. Or they said I was selected to get the free cooler, whatever the case was. I was like, wow, this is great. So I filled out my name, my address, my phone number, and that's really what they asked for. And then when I went to the next screen didn't look official. Like it didn't look like Dick's Sporting Goods is a big nationwide company. It would probably have the best graphics, it would have the best website, the best pictures, the best marketing. This took me to something that somebody made, like on the side. And that's where I said, oh no, I just been tricked. But I only gave them my name and my address, which is public information anyways. But a free item. So all of these numbers that I gave before, we're not all going to become victim to them, but we may be prone to one of them. I'm prone to get caught with free item scam. So when I see free items, I'm like, oh, exciting. And I'll try to fill it out. Any questions with that so far?
I've done the same thing, Violet. Let me ask a question. So when you start to fill out stuff online and you don't send it, but if it has like multiple pages, so maybe you fill out the front page and then you stop, can they get that information even if you haven't completed it?
It depends how they ran it. If they ran a website or a page where that data gets so like collected each and every single time, but that's exactly what mine was. Mine was I fill out the first page and then the second page I'm like, oh wait, hold on. And that's when I realized it wasn't real. And then I mean the number one thing was like I never shopped at Dick's, so why would they email me?
Right, right.
Yeah, but it all depends how they collected. And again, if it's just your credit card information, get a new credit card. Name and address is typically public information, phone number too. So, but it depends how they have it. If that form goes, and I would imagine if they are scammers, then yes, every form because they're trying to they're trying to build a profile for you. So
Yeah,
any information they can, and they're doing phishing scams. So yeah, most likely I would imagine that yeah, that information gets through. And
okay,
then the problem with those is that once they know they got you, then they try to get you again in a different way because they know you've already been like prone to um clicking once, so you'll probably click again.
right, right.
And
Okay.
same thing goes with like awards, any kind of gifts that are free, especially now around the holidays. This is when a lot of scams come about, especially gift card scams or winning gift cards or I just got an email from Microsoft. Another good thing, and it's like a $1 million sweepstakes. And I'm like, oh, this is probably fake. But then I Googled it. So that's something that I do recommend. I recommend that if you see something, I would go on Google and type in, Dick's Sporting Goods Yeti, and then I would type in scam after and see what comes up. I typed in the $1 million Microsoft sweepstakes, and that's actually a real thing because it came up on actual like real news articles that Microsoft is offering $1 million to switch over from Google to Microsoft and that. So I would also Google it. If you're not sure, just Google it, and oftentimes it'll come up. There's certain websites that tell you that scams are. Reddit, people discuss things on Reddit. So there's information, but I would always Google it to see. And
I
and
see,
uh-huh.
I see there's a comment in the Q&A there.
Wait, hold on, I'm looking at the chat. Hold on, I don't have the Q&A here. 1 second. I don't see it
Well, I
up.
can read it to you. So, one of the attendees said, I got scammed buying a Visa card at Walgreens, and before I could use it, someone used the $25. Unfortunately, the scammer might have been the cashier who sold it to me. And then they had additional comment, oops, what can I do about that money on the $25? Gift card money having been stolen from me.
And that's the sad part. And I'm sorry that happened to you with that $25 gift card. But like I mentioned with the Nordstrom, this was my friend's mother who's actually in her 80s. Nordstrom didn't believe her. Nordstrom, and she says, "You think I'm lying? I'm 80 years old. I'm lying about this gift card." And they couldn't do anything about it. And that's the worst part. Just like every other scam, there's nothing anyone will do about it other than your credit card. If somebody uses your credit card somewhere, the credit card company will give you the money back. But the sweepstakes scam, the free item scams, the lottery, the investment scams, like I said with the email, charity scams, romance scams, no one is giving you that money back, unfortunately. And that's the sad news, because with gift cards, it's tricky because we're not necessarily getting tricked. We're just buying a gift card. Um, have you gone to stores or places and it says like gift cards are not a form of payment? I don't necessarily know how these gift card scams work. I don't know if it's the cashier. I don't know what happened at Nordstrom. Maybe it wasn't even the cashier at the Walgreens, but maybe the companies that produce these gift cards. You never know if it's an employee there, someone who's transporting those gift cards, who's stealing all those numbers. I don't know if that $25 gift card that you received, were the back 3 digits still there, or were they erased? We don't know where it comes, but unfortunately, there's nothing you can do because there is no proof that you didn't use that money. Although, you didn't, but there's no proof, unfortunately. And that's the scary part about all these scams. So I'm sorry you went through that. But there's really nothing you could do about it. Maybe just try not to purchase gift cards if you don't have to. Maybe give a check to someone instead for that money. And you could always explain to them, hey, I'm sorry, I'm giving you a check or I'm giving you cash. I would love to give you a gift card to your favorite store, but I was once a victim of a gift card scam, so I don't want to do that again. Any other questions or comments there? And next thing we'll move on to is recognizing fake news. Now, fake news is, we have to make sure that the information we're getting is legitimate. Actual real websites, real news websites, real websites, not someone who's doing something as a hobby, like a subject matter expert even. Or when you're doing research, make sure you're doing your research from actual reputable sources. Let's say you're even looking up historical facts. Make sure you're getting it from like the Britannica. Make sure you're getting it from real scientific or historical websites, and not someone that's posting historical content whose hobby it is about history. Make sure that the news that you're getting is reputable and it's from real organizations. Same thing with anything to purchase. Make sure it's always real websites. Don't trust a website because it looks good or it plays to your emotions, because again, all these things that I mentioned, Most of them touch an emotional piece of ours, especially the romance ones. People are lonely. Now they find this excitement and love. They try to play your strings. And same with like somebody calling you for money or your grandchild asking you for money. Your emotional strings get pulled because now you feel bad. Number 12 is job search scams. I was just mentioning this right before we started. A friend of mine was looking for an executive assistant position last year. And while she was sending out her resume, that's why on resumes, I say never put your address on your resume. If you have any family members that are looking for jobs, just either put the state or don't put anything. Or because now a lot of jobs are remote, but I wouldn't even put the address on there. So a friend of mine received an email from a company that said they were going to hire her, but they need her driver's license. And they had a real website. They had pictures of people. They had an address in Rockefeller Center in Manhattan. They had, 10 staff members, pictures, degrees, titles. So she called the company to see if this was real. Said, call them, see if this job is still available. Pretend you're just calling. So she calls the phone number, a New York phone number. Somebody actually picks up. They're like, yes, this job is real. Just continue with the recruiter. They had a fake recruiter, a fake manager, a fake HR department. They had everything fake. She ended up sending them her driver's license, which I advised her against because no job will ask you for your driver's license unless they're offering you a position. Again, and then you would have met with them for interviews. She didn't even meet with them on an interview. She did cross out her driver's license ID, like her driver's license number, but she sent her, her ID, which is again public information. Her face can be found anywhere, especially if she has LinkedIn, and her address as well. And then ironically, like a month later, we checked that website again. They had a whole new team of people. They had a new, like, they just kept changing pictures. I've never seen something like that, but I would never put your address on a resume because scams are real, especially if you put your public resume on Indeed, then they could just email you and offer you jobs all day. And again, those are played on emotions because someone is desperate to find a job. So they're offering you a fake job.
Yeah, and you're intrigued because someone's interested in you.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like just like with the romance scams, you're like, wow, this is great. And these are, I'm just going to show quickly
Oh,
some
we have
examples.
one question here again, from Lisa. Should you put your phone number or email on the resume you put online?
Yes, yes, you have to because then they have to contact you one way, but I wouldn't put the address. I would just put your location if you want, like Northern New Jersey or New York. But like on my resume, I don't even have my address at all. But your email, yes. And your phone number, yes, because they have to reach out to you in order to contact you for an interview. But if it's a company that you don't know or something, but again, these companies will ask you for your private information as well. So that's the big number one alert before they even interview you. So this is just an example of an email I received from PayPal. And it says, Dear Norton user, I don't have Norton. Some people may or may not know what Norton is. It's a virus software. And it's an urgent reminder. And this reminder told me, I hope everybody can see this, that my PayPal, what is this, payment of $512 from Norton, um, will be deducted, that all this money, the $512 will be deducted from my account. And look at this toll-free number down here that I can call. Now, I don't know if there's anyone that can speak to this, but how can you identify that this is not a real email other than me not having Norton? Um, I'll tell you guys a few times, greetings. Company is not sending me an email saying greetings. They're not really greeting me. This phone number in red, they wouldn't put a phone like this, kind of looks unprofessional. There's multiple colors. This phone number in red doesn't look real. Why would they put USD? If this is an American company, it's automatically assumed that this is USD and not the Chinese yen or the Polish zloty. So there's a few things here. So other than PayPal, Norton, especially because I don't use anything on PayPal, I automatically knew this was fake. Oops. And then let me just go back. And then this email came from this person. Now, if this was really a Norton antivirus, it wouldn't come from a Gmail address. So I would always, whenever you get an email address, you can click on the sender, and then this populates, which shows you the actual email. Here is another example. So this is my email, Violet S. I am not Quinn Lieber. So that automatically would just be a red flag to me, that, and I would just assume that this is meant for Quinn. But again, look at these red phone numbers. Anything red just looks alarming. Why would any company send me a red phone number? It's almost like I'm in trouble or something, or like in school when they used to use the red pen. Um, but again, and all these weird numbers. So I would always, make sure that, and then here's my real email address, violetsudol@gmail.com. So you have to be very careful. And then again, it's coming from Griswold Hartman 050@gmail.com. Now, why is a Gmail account sending me something for Bitcoin? Again, it's not real. Another one, Norton again. I have Apple products, so I don't need Norton. Apple products are not easily hackable, and you don't need antivirus because it's automatically built into Apple products. So I'm not concerned that my computer will be hacked, and I'm definitely not buying Norton because I don't need it with my Apple products. But now I see here in the chat, Lisa said I had something similar happen to me with the bill from Spectrum that I used to have, telling me to pay an outstanding bill. I called up Spectrum to be sure that my account has been closed because the letter they sent me. Yes, but oftentimes when they send you those letters, I wouldn't call that phone number. There was something that happened to me recently. Oh, I received a letter in the mail from my insurance company that they've been hacked, and that all of which happens with insurance companies and hospital systems. When I was a hospital employee, all of our information was leaked, including our social security numbers, things like that. And I got this letter in the mail from my insurance company, and they sent me like a separate letter from a company that they're working with my insurance company to help me stay protected online. And I have to call that number to sign up to keep my identity protected for the next 2 years. I think you know what I mean, that happens. I was weary about calling that phone number on that letter. So whenever you get a letter in the mail, just like Lisa here said it from that bill, I would never call that phone number on that letter, because it could be a fake phone number to a fake. How many of you watch Bravo TV? The host Andy Cohen. I don't know if he does the Housewives. He's a talk show host. His name is Andy Cohen. He was scammed from his like debit card company or credit card company because he lost his debit card company. So the company called him and said, "Hey, this is your bank calling you, and you lost your credit card, so we're here to help you. Press one." That was the scammer calling him the entire time. So this could be very unbeknown to us. But whenever it's like a phone number, I would call them. I would Google the phone number, or like I said, make a little notepad whenever you go to your bank, get their actual phone number, and then store it so you have that number, so you're not getting weird letters in the mail and then calling these random numbers on all these papers. So Lisa, sorry that happened to you. Hopefully it wasn't anything painful. Um, but we have to be very, and I know it's easy just to call the number on the paper, but try not to. Just try to Google it, and then make sure you're clicking the right link for that website and for that company.
So Violet, how did the scammers know that Andy Cohen had lost his debit card?
You see, I don't know, but I did see it on TV. If you just Google like Andy Cohen scam, he explains the whole thing. So he I forget now because it was a while ago. But he says it, like, I guess when he lost his debit card or credit card, they may have called him or they sent him a text message, whatever it was. He the whole time thought that he was talking to the bank, and it was a scammer
Right,
the whole time.
right. Yeah.
But he was given the scammers. If you just Google it, it's on YouTube, because he explains the whole thing, but it's pretty scary. And he's a celebrity, so he's probably even more targeted.
Right, right.
Or not, I don't know. Maybe they leave them alone and they come after us people. Who knows? So this is just another one from Norton that I actually received. Like I said, I don't have Norton because I have Apple products, and Apple products don't need antivirus. So if anyone's, I don't work for Apple, but if anyone's in the market for a new computer, I would always suggest Apple, because they are safer. So I automatically know this is not real because again, I don't own any products that would require Norton. But these phone numbers are all weird. This whole thing is weird. Um, and again, it gives you these weird phone numbers at the bottom. And the phone numbers are always in different fonts. And then this is who the email came from. HZZH92340@gmail.com. I mean, Norton would have a professional email. Norton is a very, very high level company. So that's how you can tell. And this goes to creating strong passwords. So many of us, I know that it's easy for us to make a password like your dog's name, 123, your husband's name, 123, your wife's name, 123. Do not make those kind of passwords. You have to make, and then don't reuse your passwords. It's one thing if you reuse your passwords for like Macy's and Nordstrom and Bloomingdale's, but your bank, your email should all have very long and separate passwords. Anything that deals with your finances, something that will hurt you personally, I would always use very strong passwords. Oops, just before we go into passwords, the two-phase authentication. I don't know if you've seen some of this. There is an app, it's called Google Authenticator. And when you need to log into certain websites like Facebook or certain things, they will send you an actual code. Always turn on two-phase authentication for your email, for your banks. I know it's going to be annoying because you're going to have to put that code in, but that 30 seconds is going to save you a headache in the future, especially with your bank. So yes, you're going to need to put that text message code in for your bank because that is where your money is. So with strong passwords, don't use password 12 or 123456 or QWERTY, which is the first 5 letters on the keyboard. These are examples of good passwords. So we're using special characters, we're using numbers, we're using capital letters and small letters. I just want you all to take a look at these. So, and again, for your email addresses, change your passwords and make sure your email address doesn't have the same password as your bank. Your banks should have a totally separate, the longer, the better password with special characters and numbers. And if you can think of unique names, or if you speak another language, put one English word, one other word, like I speak Polish. So some, my passwords may be half in Polish, half in English. Do not repeat your passwords for your banks. Again, I'm going to say this for your emails, and put on two-phase authentication. I know with your banks, it may be annoying, but if you only log in once a week, it's better to be safe than sorry. So put on two-phase authentication. Another thing, if you're a social media lover, if you love Facebook, Instagram, turn on two-phase authentication. It's in the settings. Because if they hack your information, there is no customer service number to call Facebook or Instagram, and you're going to lose all your memories. And two-phase authentication also allows you to put a security email or a phone number so that if someone tries to log into your account from another device, it's going to ask them, oh, what's your email address? The alternate one, or what's your phone number to send you a passcode? Turn those things on everything should have on two-phase authentication so that this way you are secured double. So it's not just your password, but then it's your phone number that requests a code or your email address that requests a code to log into those accounts, especially for your banks. Any questions?
We have a question in the Q&A. Where should you store your passwords and how do you turn on two-factor authentication?
So when you turn that on, so it's usually you'll get a pop-up when you log into a website. But if it's not at every website and social media, which is banks or whatever, if it's your bank, you can call them and ask them, but it's always in your settings. If you go into your accounts under settings and then privacy, or if you go into settings and password, it'll have to turn on two-phase authentication. Your banks usually you'll get a pop-up. Social media, you have to go on the phone or on the computer. You go into your settings, again, settings, passwords, or settings, account, or settings and privacy and safety. Those would be the areas depending on what website. Privacy and safety, passwords, and accounts. So just go into those, navigate into those areas, and you will see it there. I hope that answers your question. And it was, is that the only question, or did they ask something else as well?
No, that's it.
And this is what I mentioned before. When you're on social media, Instagram and Facebook, and you're on vacation with your family and no one is home, you may not need to post to social media that you're all on vacation. Maybe wait till you get home and then post your pictures from your vacation so that people don't know that you're away. You don't know who people know or what strangers are on there. Some of us may have social media for many years and we have people on there we don't know. I highly recommend you go through your Facebook and your Instagram contacts and delete people you don't know. Delete people that don't have images. Delete people you don't recognize. Some of us may have had Facebook or Instagram, especially Facebook because it's been around longer, for over 10, 15 years. Delete people that are no longer part of your life, that are not relevant. You don't know them anymore. And they may not be safe anymore, or their page may get hacked. One of the big hacks on Facebook and Instagram are those I just made $30,000 in 2 days scams. That means their Facebook account has been hacked. So I would recommend deleting people you don't know because they could be getting information and trying to contact you. People who don't have any pictures and you don't know who they are, delete them, and do not try and don't post your information all the time where you are. And if you do, that's okay, but make sure your profiles are set to private. So when a stranger stumbles upon your social media account, they can't see your personal life because you're granting access who enters that account of yours and who's not. So make sure that your profile pictures are private on Facebook and on Instagram. Now, I was trying to be cautious of everyone's time, but is there any questions or any comments or anything else that anybody would like me to review or go over or discuss anything else?
Well, that was quite a lot of material there, Violet. So thank you very much. It's very informative.
You're welcome. I think there's something in the, yeah. Oh, someone said I would love an in-person review of all this. Yes, it is a lot of information, but Lisa, I would definitely say that always take a step back and think, like, is this safe? Is this for me? Why am I getting this letter? And I know you mentioned like the spectrum with the outstanding balance bill. If you know that you're paying your bills on time and you know that this is happening or deducting from your account, like if you have automatic, another thing I would recommend is for your like spectrum bill, and if you can afford it, or your like your gas and electric, those bills aren't that high sometimes. So you can do automatic payments and they'll deduct stuff out of your checking account, but then you know that you always have that bill paid. So if you get any information in the mail, you know that it's fake and it's not real. Um, so that's that. Any other questions? Mhm.
Well, thank you again, Violet. Really appreciate all this information. Maybe we can have you back at some point and review this or see what else is going on. Because as we said earlier, there's just this constant bad guy advancement.
It is, and we just have to be aware and tell your family and friends about to stay safe online. Don't send money to people you don't know. Don't buy gift cards to people you don't know. Don't fall in love with people who are overseas and asking you for money. There's plenty of other sites you can do locally and meet people in person. And don't post too much private information when your Facebook or your Instagram are not private for the people. And just go through your contacts and just delete people that are no longer relevant.
Okay, Well, thank you very much again. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Please check our events page for future events, and we'll see you all later. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.